Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charles and this is my Oxford house project, my 1838's Gothic revival that I purchased at auction for only $5,000. Now, as you can see, if you haven't tuned in, feel free to watch the walkthrough and see how bad it was then. Some people might say it's even worse now because I've actually been tearing into it. So I have three projects that I want to tackle today. One is just cleaning up some debris, some lawn debris, trees, branches, things like that that I had cleared away from when we did the roof patch. Also somewhere on the back before the dumpster got taken away, I did clean out a couple of tree branches up by the balcony in the back that were really annoying me. So I chopped them down. They're laying out back, so I need to get those cleaned up. So the other thing is I have some storm windows that I'd like to put over some of the broken windows if I can, if they fit. I believe they will. Those were picked up off the side of the road. I'll get more into that in a little bit. And more importantly, the big project for the day is reinforcing this broken support beam in the cellar in front of me under the stairwell. So that's going to be a little bit of a big project, especially by myself, but I am not dissuaded. We are going to try. Here goes. So when it comes to the little projects, the cleaning up the trees, that's easy. I chop them up with a Sawzall, I throw them in the back of my trailer. Not really much to see there. It's no different than when I was doing it before. So the windows, those are kind of an interesting one. I found them on Marketplace listed. They were listed as storm windows for a 12/12, which is what a lot of the old windows are. Now those windows were listed by, and I'm sorry if I butcher your last name pronunciation, but Kurt Riegel, R-E-I-G-E-L, who also runs Riegel Restorations. He does a lot of window restoration, things like that. He'd actually reached out to me and I need to get him over here at some point just to have him do a walkthrough with me as well. However, that aside, he actually had a listing for some of these windows, these storm windows for free. So I ran over in the morning whenever he listed them, I think it was right before Memorial Day, and grabbed a few of them off the thing. So those windows will be courtesy of Kurt. Thank you for those coming up at the right time, by the way. Ends up being perfect. I'm pretty sure they're going to fit at least what I need them to. Now I don't have like the whole thing, but I've got panes of glass and such from these that I believe will nestle into the outside frame of my, at least those windows. These bay windows, not so much, but those other windows, they should nestle in pretty good. So I'm probably just going to get them in place, tack some short little blocks in the corners just to hold them up. And really the only purpose of having them is to close the windows in that are broken out. So like this one behind me in the blue room where it's got the entire frame missing out of it, it'd be nice to get something over the hole. Basically, that's all it is. So I've got a good chunk of those in the back of my car. They've been there for a while. So again, in the grand scheme of difficulty, not that much. Now the upper windows might be a little bit harder to reach, but I do have my ladder around here. It's upstairs in the bathroom, that's where it is. So these bay windows are a larger pane of glass and a bigger window. So I don't know if they're wider, if I'll be able to use this same technique or not. We'll take a look. I have the problem windows that I want to get addressed first. But again, in the grand scheme, that's not the hard one. The big one is going to be this beam underneath my feet. So let me give you the rundown as to how we're going to pull this off. All right, so apologies for the echo, but we're back in the back room. Do you see that? I got buzzed by something. Anywho, we're back in the back room where I've unloaded some supplies. Now, first and foremost, we got some lumber, right? So I've got a 2x10, 8 foot long, and a 4x6, that's 8 foot long, and a pair of 2x4s, nope, 4x4s that are also 8 feet long. The length matters not, really, but the plan is to take this 2x10 flat up against the bottom of the beam where it currently sits. 4x6 under that to give it kind of a spine. And then the 4x4s I can cut down and put on the jacks to lift the 4x4 up into position, because I also have these guys. These are 3 heavy-duty jack posts. So you can call them what you want. Some people call them lolly columns, some people call them jack posts. These are labeled as tello posts. But either way, you've seen them before. They're the usually red, but they're those steel posts with the little screwy thing at the top that adjusts for height. I bought 3 of them For the height that they are, now if you're not familiar with these, they're rated in, a total of, how many pounds can they support. And that changes depending on how much extension you have on these posts. So if you had them all the way on the ground, they can support a lot more weight than if you've got them fully extended. Now these will extend up to about 8.5 feet if I remember right, and down to about 4.5. Well, as luck would have it, I only need to be about the 5.5 foot mark, which should be about 20,000 pounds that each of these posts can support at that height. That should be plenty. So the other issue we have is that it's really dark down there. This has been an issue that I've been trying to figure out how to tackle, not only for the cellar, but also just in general. Now that I'm back at work, well, I don't get out of work until late, not until 8, until late. And it makes it darker earlier for me to work. So I've been trying to figure out a way to have lights in here while I'm working, at least trying to figure out where to get the power and do what all my stuff is. So I went ahead and I purchased a power station. Now you might think Jackery or Bluetti or EcoFlow, but no, I don't have that much money. So what I bought is this guy right here. This is a Rich Solar 540 watt hour lithium power station with a pure sine wave inverter. Ran me about, I want to say $300. Now it's not nearly as large capacity as some of the other ones I've mentioned or some of the larger models. The AC outlets on this are only rated for 500 watts continuous or 1,000 watts of surge, like if you were using a power tool. But even that 500 watts is not very much. But I'm not using it for power tools so much as either charging my tool batteries or, in the case we're going to use today and in future videos, running some lights. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to run a power strip off of it, and I have a pair of these LED work lights. I think these came from Walmart or somewhere. I don't remember. They're fairly inexpensive. They're 40 watts a piece at max brightness. They have adjustable brightness and adjustable color temperature. So that's a thing. So I'm just going to run a power strip off of the inverter into those two lights. So 540 watt hours divided by 80 watts of LED power at max brightness means I can run those lights for 6 hours straight at max brightness and still be fine. So I don't think I need to. I'm really hoping to not need 6 hours of work to tackle this beam. So let me go get the battery and the lights set up downstairs, and I'll show you what we're gonna do, and then we'll come back up, we'll cut some wood, and then we're gonna struggle to get this stuff into position. All right, over my head is this damaged beam. So in the short version, we need to clear out these pipes. Now some of these are cast iron, some of these look like galvanized. Hopefully we can just break them out of the way. We have a support column over here, and then the wall. This beam is notched into the outside beam, it looks like, but there's no support there, but it's notched. It's not sagging from the outside beam, it is still there. But in the middle of this, we've got a good couple inches that this is sagging down just from that post to where I'm standing. So the plan is to get this stuff out of the way. 2x10 flat against the surface. I'll have to grind out or break out some of these existing screws. I guess I can just break them. They're all just rusted off. 2x10 flat against the board or beam this way. 4x6 spine underneath it. And then what we'll do is we're going to have jack posts, one on each end. And I've got some 4x4s. Not this one that I've made, but other actual 4x4s. And I've got a couple more of these bottle jacks. So we're going to put those underneath, and we're going to raise that spine into position to hold this in place and kind of flatten her back out. Now that is not a permanent solution. It's not even a good temporary one. And the reason for that is this is all wet. So right now, all the weight of the house, or at least this section of the house, is pushing down on it, right? Well, this is flexible now. It is soggy and kind of damp, and it's just kind of bowing, right? Because all the pressure is just being transferred through and it's bowing down. But if we put something solid underneath this, all the pressure that's on top now can't go anywhere, and this beam just has a potential to just start crushing itself. So all the weight of the house will just be sandwiching this beam between the house weight and the beam, the new beam weight. So that is not a perfect solution. It's not a temporary solution I want to follow. What we want to do while we work on trying to figure out how to replace such a massive, massive beam is to put this in place as I'm planning, then turn around and build two temporary-ish support walls that sit under these joists on each side. Then once that is taken care of, then we can worry about replacing this section of beam. Now when it comes to replacing this beam, I'm not sure what the best way is going to be to do it because that is notched in. I don't know how easy it'll be to just remove this whole section and then replace it. And it is, like I said, this does support a lot of weight going up through. This is a weight-bearing support beams. So that'll be kind of interesting. But in the meantime, let's go get a hammer, tap on that just a little bit, and see if it actually does start to break. I've been told that this cast iron stuff is very brittle, and a good whack with a hammer will actually just break it. I don't want to be anywhere near it when I break it. Well, that's not going to work. I would like to say it might be possible to break this stuff with a sledgehammer. I don't have enough confidence in anything around me to swing this with full force to find out. So, call me what you will. And then the 4x6 will go up in here. Uh-oh, I'm gonna lose a finger. There we go. All right, so we're going to leave this where it is right now. It's not closed all the way, but I don't want to go gonzo on it. So we are going to, everything is snug. Everything is as tight as I can get it by hand without the proper wrench. But we're going to leave it where it is and kind of let it, you know, acclimate itself. We're going to let it settle in. It's not going to go anywhere. And then tomorrow I come back over. I'll see if it's loosened up at all, see if it's kind of shifted back. And then over time, we'll just keep going up until we're more square. That'll take care of it for now, and then eventually we need to build a couple of walls on each side to kind of relieve some of the stress on the beam from the house load. But there's one more thing I want to look at when we're down here. So the one thing that I wanted to look at is up here. Right here is the doorway, right? So right above here is the door. So it feels right here that this joist is sagging in the middle where I'm standing, and it looks like it's sagging here in the middle where I'm standing. So what I would like to do at some point is also bring another support post right here in the middle. I believe this wall used to hold this up, and now people have just busted it out to run new vents. So it kind of defeats the purpose of having a wall. So we're going to go ahead and do the same sort of thing we did over there. Maybe even use that fancy beam we had and go from side to side on these two joists. Maybe that one if I can get it to it, but at least in this middle section. And we're going to get another jack and another 4x4 post, and we're going to kind of stabilize this one here. You do feel it under your feet. The other thing too is you can see right here how there's a gap. That's because these boards are warped and basically pushing up. You can actually see this in the entryway. You can see that these are the boards that are warped and pushing up right there in the middle. There's probably ways to fix it without tearing the boards down. We'll figure that out when we get to it. But otherwise, yeah, I just want to add a little bit more support here in the middle. Right here where this is basically the bottom of the stairs right here, actually, I guess. is where the stairs start to go up, is right here. So I just want to put a little extra support here in this corner. All right, so let's get out of the cellar and let's go take a look at the floor and bounce around. See what it feels like. All right, so this right here, this board, you can see it's raising up. This is that board right below, right? So this is where that piece is coming up. There's that jack, or there's the vent. And what I want to do is put a support under that vent, or under that side, under that joist, to put some more support under here, which will also help alleviate the strain on that beam. It's kind of hard to tell whether or not we have gotten much of a correction in the floor just yet, but I think a lot of it too is this joist that runs this way is just dying down here. So I'm happy with how that beam came out for now, especially given the house is creaking, man. It's weird. But I am happy with how that beam came out, especially given the workarounds we had to do, since we don't have the ability to cut through that cast iron just yet. And like I said, maybe that stuff would break if you hit it hard enough. I don't trust anything long enough to hit it as hard as it would probably need. But we may do. It's, you know, doing its job for the time being. Again, it's just for time being's sake. So these storm windows were being given away by Kurt Regal, who does Regal Restoration, window restoration, a lot of historical stuff as well for the town of Sydney. And I don't know if they're going to fit, but we're going to find out. He had them offered for free, so they're for 12/12 windows with, I forget what size glass he said, but it seems like it's pretty close to what these windows are. Now this one here is in the back corner with obviously a big hole, but what we're going to try to do is to put this up in the frame. Hopefully it fits. And if we have to just kind of tack it in, we will for the time being. The idea being, let's get some of these holes covered up with something.
A few moments later.
They don't fit exactly, but they fit close enough where we can at least get them into place, kind of in some position, and just kind of put a couple of screws in the side to hold them in here. And again, all it's supposed to do, all I want to do is just cover up like holes like this. Now obviously it doesn't cover it completely, but it at least takes some of it out of the way. Well, as it turns out, there was really only the one window I needed to put a piece of glass around. This one could use one, I just haven't brought it back yet. Let's try to step out of the light here. So you can see though, we have a piece of glass in here now to at least hold it over. I just took a couple screws, top and bottom, wedged it in place, and used the screws to kind of clamp it into place, so to speak. We've got some debris to get rid of, not a lot over here. So you can see we've got some of this stuff here. This is the stuff that came down when we were playing on the roof last time. This tree here is basically a dead tree. So I am going to, that one's small enough I can actually cut it up and bring it back and get it out of the way. This other one here that's leaning, this one here without the bark, also dead, but I don't know how well I can maneuver that one down into position without hitting anybody's stuff. It would be nice if I could just cut it off and drop it, but I don't want to break anything just yet. So we're going to leave that for the time being and call that good. Now I may get ambitious tomorrow, bring my ladder over in those two trees right there. Maybe I'll lean the ladder against, or I'll take this little one actually. I can lean it, once this tree's out of here, I can lean it over there. I can drop those two without really worrying about much. That maple, or is it oak? I don't know. One of those trees. It's one of the ones with the fancy leaves. So maybe, depending on how big my trailer load ends up being, once I clear this stuff and the stuff out back, maybe I'll try to get those two trees down as well, get them out of the way. And then really there's only a couple of big ones to deal with after that. So anyway, I'm gonna grab my Sawzall and my gloves. We're gonna get this stuff cleaned up and then see how the day goes. All right, well that's gonna do it for this video. As you can see, the bay windows did actually take a pain. They don't quite fit all the way. There's a little gap, but it's a whole lot better than having big old holes. We got some cleanup done. We got the support braces down underneath in the house. So it'll be curious to see how well those come up. I did go back down and I put the one in for under the front of the stairs as well in that electrical room. So that'll at least stabilize that for the time being. I probably will take the other jack post down as well and put that under the joist directly under the stairs instead of trying to spread the load with my little made-up beam. But for the most part, pretty productive day. Everything else seems pretty good. We're going to call it good for now and let you get out of here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you again for all the support. Anybody that wants to help out, the links are down in the description. And I had somebody stop by and say they missed seeing me over here, but they want to wish me luck, tell me everybody's still rooting for me, which is greatly appreciated. And truth be told, I kind of miss being over here more often. But this whole back to work thing, there's only so much you can do. I'm going to go clean up the rest of my mess. I'm going to get out of here. I'll see you next time.